Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan Warren. I'm with TPM. So today's webinar, we're going to do a rundown of the Next Generation BIM 360 platform. This presentation is designed to give you a better understanding of the overall project environment and kind of what BIM 360 is and how it serves to help our projects move forward. And then once we kind of finish the overview, we're actually going to dive into a couple of the products so I can show you some of the picks and clicks and the how-tos of BIM 360. So three factors are in play that have been changing how document control is handled in our current construction or project environment. There's overwhelming pressure to process volumes of documents and manage the versions of all those documents as releases come out to the field. Additionally, the advent of mobile technologies has really increased the demand for the access to the latest and greatest version instantly. Compliance and, oh, hang on a second. It doesn't appear that my screen is updating. There we go. Now we're updating. I apologize. So let's start that slide over. So there were three factors in play that are changing how document control is handled in today's project environment. First is the overwhelming pressure to process the volumes of documents that are associated with a project. Managing those versions and maintaining the most accurate version out in the field, which is our sort of offline environment, if you will. Additionally, the advent of mobile technologies has increased the demand for instant access to the latest and greatest version of everything. Versioning is happening in real time, and there's a real need to have access to that information while we're out in the field. Additionally, compliance and legal requirements for single data repositories are on the rise. Things like BIM Level 2 and PAS 1192 really are pushing this forward, as well as the kind of litigious nature of our project world. So these are all kind of changing the way in which we have to manage documents. So there is no longer a single document manager on a project. It has to be done by many people, which has led to a rise in solutions today. So as the document control has become more democratized and document management has become a collaborative effort, the number of technologies have come up that are all kind of intended to help solve this. So we've got our cloud-based collaboration and file sharing tools that allow us anytime, anywhere access to the digital documents, both out in the field and in the office. We also have everyone's favorite PDF creation and editing software utilized for managing markups, site observations, edits, merging files, comparing files, things like that. And then we also have the field-based mobile presence, which reduces the time required to get that data out to the field so that the people in the field have access to the information they need when they need it. So there's always an app for that, right? And across all these technologies, there are countless apps at this point. And what this allows us is it allows us to solve single parts of the project document process, whether that's storing and sharing files with mobile access, if it gives us access to being able to see the PDF files and coordinate on them, or using the specific PDF management tools so that we can use those 2D documents more efficiently, or if it's a matter of using the mobile platforms for managing issues, site observations, markups, reports, whatever you have, right? The problem is no one solution in this environment spans all the needs. So what we've kind of found is that most people need some combination of multiple different solutions, and project teams tend to cobble together a working environment based off the various different solutions that are available, predominantly based on cost sometimes. So what this results in is a swath of information silos. While each one of the individual solutions has their benefits, they don't necessarily talk to each other. Information gets caught. So applications have various values based on their function. Cloud-based collaboration tools are built for sharing files. PDF editing tools are built for creating and modifying PDF drawings. Field apps are meant for managing photos, markups, and issues, and so on, but they don't always talk to each other. So when documents, plans, and models are accessed and modified, often those changes are not propagated out to the key silos that are necessary. So then we're in an environment where we don't have a single source of truth. Documents, design files, meeting minutes, it doesn't matter, they become out of date. And then this hampers the communication process because no one really knows what's the latest version. Is it in the DWG, or is it in PDF Final, or is it in PDF Final version 3? We get into this environment where making sure everyone actually has the truth of what's the latest becomes very difficult, which is where BIM 360 comes in. So part of the BIM 360 environment is being able to break down those silos. This next generation platform removes the need for a single point application by unifying your project data. The unified BIM 360 solution aggregates the data and provides transparency to project stakeholders, making everyone more accountable and improving visibility in real time. I'm excited to share with you the details of this next generation BIM 360 package. This package is built for personas that need to connect as the project progresses, all the way through the project lifecycle. This has profound impacts on our project environment. So the way that this data is structured is all the project data resides in a foundation that can be accessed regardless of the platform environment. So, or regardless of the phase of the project that you're working in. So your design teams can begin doing their work using a tool like BIM 360 Design. And as they go through, then that information then can be brought up to a coordination level using BIM 360 Glue. We can then take that out for field execution, leveraging BIM 360 Layout and other tools to help us manage the models and bring that value out into the field. And ultimately then, all this data flows forward into the commissioning and handover world. That way, using something like BIM 360 Ops, you can actually pull that data across and have a day one up and running FM facility management tool based on the previous data that was input by the various project teams leading up to it. So the idea is every time data comes in, it feeds forward. It's available to the people that need it as they need it. So when somebody needs an RFI, it's available instantaneously. When they need to access the latest and greatest submittals, they have access to those things. Everything feeds forward. So by doing this, the impact is a single unified platform that allows the team to access what they need regardless of where they're at. This reduces data loss, destroys the information silos and the disconnected team that prevent communication channels from flowing smoothly. So in BIM 360, they're taking the technology barriers and destroying them so that we can improve the project delivery process. This involves creating solutions that talk to each other and data that flows back and forth between solutions on a unified platform. And that's what we're going to look at today, are the four primary components of the BIM 360 environment. We've got BIM 360 Docs, which is intended for all the project stakeholders, right? We've got Design, which is intended for the design team for managing their Revit and their design files. Glue for coordination and clash detection. Build for teams who need to collaborate out in the field. The next generation BIM 360 platform has brought on this new environment where we now can communicate across project schedule. These four entities or these four solutions allow us to work as one team, as opposed to I do my bit and I walk over the fence and I throw it and then somebody catches it on the other side. So looking at Docs, the document management module, which can be purchased as BIM 360 Docs, is included in the BIM 360 products. It is the foundation for all the data in the entire environment. All the data flows through Docs. So anytime you upload something to Docs, it becomes available to the project team. Built on this is a superset of the other tools that we have access to, like BIM 360 Design. Design teams will start their work in BIM 360 Design and continue to work with their cloud work sharing platform, which allows them to actually coordinate and develop their designs in the cloud real time. And also it allows all the other project team members visibility at key points. Customers who use C4R have generally returned to us that the transactional cost of sharing models tends to cover the subscription cost. That's because there's a lot of time in the save as, detach, FTP or Dropbox that file across the project team to another office. Then there's BIM 360 Glue. So as the design develops, there's a need to coordinate it and make sure that it is building accessible, or it is constructible. So this is where our constructability analysis and our clash detection tools come in. We can bring these models together in the model coordination module, and then we can actually start identifying the specific issues in our design that are going to end up causing us problems during the construction phase. And then finally, we have BIM 360 Build. BIM 360 Build includes the field management, project management, and docs module. So what this allows us to do is it gives us the ability to manage issues and checklists out in the field. It also gives us the ability to manage our RFI and our submittal processes with a controlled workflow. All of this includes Docs, which allows us the ability to manage our documents. So that's sort of the overview of the entire BIM 360 environment. So I'm going to end the PowerPoint segment of our meeting, and we're going to go into the actual product itself so we can kind of start taking a look at it. So just to make sure, I just want to check the audience view. Okay, good. Everyone can see this. So what we're looking at here is the document management module. This is the data backbone for the entire project. So when I am looking at my project files, I can see all the different project files within my project. If I want to look at the design collaboration projects, I can go in here and I can see the different design files that are in process. Additionally, my working Revit files can be brought into BIM 360 Docs, and all of my sheets are automatically extracted. So all I had to do was upload my architectural model, and all of my sheets were automatically pulled out. So anytime I need to version up my sheets, I literally just have to re-upload my Revit file, and my sheets are automatically extracted. Then I can go into any one of the sheets. So I'm going to click this A101 ground floor, and it's going to allow me to view the document. So I can come in here and I can actually start looking at my document, and All right, so I think I'm back. Just a quick, raise your hands if you can hear my voice. Okay, good. I am broadcasting again. It's always fun when the phones work. All right, so I'm going to kind of back up a little bit because I don't know where my audio cut out. But thanks, Josh, for letting me know about that. So in the BIM 360 Docs environment, when I push up a design file, I can look at the sheets associated with that document. So I'm going to open up my level 101 floor plan. And this gives me a couple unique functions, right? So first off, because the document came from the Revit file, the links are all live. They know exactly what sheet they came from. So if I needed to look at this section, I could click on that section and it takes me directly to that sheet. Additionally, I can identify any issues that I see. So if I come down here and I'm looking at this door and I need to know, hey, we need updated security requirements for this door, I'm going to go ahead and generate an issue and say, need updated security requirements. Give it a useful description, and then we can actually assign this to either a user, a role, or a company. So I'm going to go ahead and assign this to one of my users and give it a due date of next week. I'm going to hit create. And now that issue is created and is tracked. I can do this mobily as well, which also means I can attach photos and documents. All I have to do is drag and drop them right here, and it'll attach them to this issue. Or if I'm on the iPad, I can just go ahead and hit attach and take a photo, and then bang, I've attached my site observation directly to my issue. Finally, the entire history of the issue is tracked. So when Charlie trainee touches this issue and looks at it and updates the status, that's tracked as well. So we can then follow this issue through open, answered, or closed. So then this allows us to track our issues on our site. On our document. Additionally, we also have markup tools, which allow me to grab a cloud here, and then I can draw, let's try that again. We're going to draw a cloud around our stairwell. And then we're going to add some text because we need a clarification on this. Need new handrail details. Done. And I've now marked up my drawing saying, hey, we need the new handrail details on this. Additionally, because we're working with automated versioning, we have the ability to compare our documents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out just a little bit, and I'm going to open up the document compare tool. So now I can actually look and see, well, how has version 2 changed from version 1? So now that I've done this, what I can actually do is I can overlay my tools and I can start seeing where the changes are in my document. And where's my slider? It usually lets me do a slide. Hang on, I must have grabbed the wrong file. Give me just 1 second. Let's do it over here. Let's do this. Let's compare version 3 to version 2 on this document set. And this should, there we go. Now I can actually see the changes that have occurred between the last version and the updated version of my document. Because version 3 is in red, and any changes that were changed in 2 are over here. So I can see that there was a modification to this storage space over here, and I can see over here that they've done some changes to this retaining wall. If I wanted to, I could also use my slider to give me a side-by-side comparison, so then I can actually visualize over there where the retaining wall is. I can see how the project has changed. So I can literally see side by side on the exact same document how my document has been updated. This gives me a lot of handy tools in making sure I understand what's going on my project. So I do want to go back to the Revit files, and I do want to show you something that's pretty handy. So I can leverage both the 2D documentation and the 3D model concurrently in BIM 360 docs. So even though I'm looking at a 2D sheet, it's still tied to the model. So I can split my view, and now I'm looking at the model at the same time that I'm looking at the sheet. And if I scroll in here and I pick an object, it actually will take me to that object on the model, so I can then orbit around and I can see that wall panel in context on the entire project. Additionally, if I needed to, I can pick a wall, and then I can access that wall's data, and I can see what's going on with the specific objects. So this allows me to leverage both my 3D model and my 2D documents at the same time. Additionally, BIM 360 Docs allows me to manage RFIs, and RFIs are a hard code. They're like issues, but they're hard coded in process. And the way that this works, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you in the back end so you can see how RFIs are set up. So under my project management module, this is where my RFIs exist. I can now go into the project admin, and this is where we can actually set up our workflow for our RFI creation. So if somebody creates an RFI, we can say who has the rights to create an RFI. Then we have a manager and a reviewer. If an RFI is created, it goes to the manager, who in this case, in the traditional environment, this would be like a specialty contractor sending in an RFI to the GC. The GC becomes the RFI manager. He would review that RFI, make sure that there's no need for it. If he wants to, he can kick that back down to the sub, or he can pass that on to the reviewer. The reviewer is the person or company that is specifically in charge of answering the RFI. This looks like there might be another question coming in. Let me just make sure. Okay, no. So we can change this workflow if necessary, because sometimes it doesn't always just go from the sub to the GC to the architect. Sometimes it requires multiple workflows or multiple reviewers, in which case we can change if we want to, where we have a reviewer 1 and a reviewer 2. In this environment, the reviewer 1 is the official response, but this could be the architect handing the issue over to the engineer. The engineer reviews it, provides his comment, and then that is issued as an official response by reviewer 1 out to the rest of the team. So this is a hard-coded process. It's very much like an issue, but the issues allow us to but the RFIs allow us to track this in the formal project manner. Additionally, with issues and RFIs, I have visibility into all the issues. I can see from my issue list the status, the title, the location. I can see everything related to my issues right here, as well as if I wanted to, I could export out a PDF or a CSV report of my issue, which would then give me my issue list. We do have filters for controlling this, so then we can shortlist this down to just our open issues or just our mechanical issues or just our issues that Bob needs to take care of, right? And then we can generate a report from that. So in the document management module, if I had an RFI, all I would have to do is go into a document and generate my RFI. So I'm going to go into one of my PDF sets, and I'm going to grab a document, and we're going to generate an RFI. So this RFI tool, when I generate an RFI, forces me to follow a submitted to draft process. So I'm going to go ahead and start drafting my RFI. It's going to start as a draft, give it a new title, say need electrical room panel layout update for expanded circuits. Enter in my description. If I want, I can provide a recommended answer if I think that that's a good answer. Then I can actually attach other documentation. So if I need to add cut sheets, or if I need to add the referring documents, I drag and drop them here, and then they become embedded in the RFI. If I want, then I can choose a date. When do I need a response? And then I can set my co-reviewers. And co-reviewers are just other people on the team that may need to be aware or need to provide input for the reviewer. I can also create a distribution list. The distribution list are all people who will be notified of updates of this RFI. So as this RFI moves through the life cycle and moves through the process, all the people in the distribution list will be updated, because not everyone on the project team needs an update for all the RFIs. The plumber may not necessarily need to know about an RFI that was brought in by the structural guy or the concrete guy or the iron workers, right? So then this allows me to control the communication and data flow. It doesn't mean that it's not visible to the rest of the team. It just, this will go ahead and keep everybody appraised of what's going on. And then when I create that, it is now sitting there in draft until I'm ready to submit it, at which point then I can go ahead and change this to submitted. And when I do this, I can add a quick comment. Done. Now the RFI is out of the creator's hands, and it's actually in the manager's hands, and he can manage it from that point. So do you have a question that came in and said, sorry joining late, but is this a BIM 360 team online? No, today we're not going to be focusing on BIM 360 team. We're going to be focusing on the next generation platform and the different modules included with it. Because BIM 360 team is eventually going to be replaced by BIM 360 docs. In fact, for those of you on the line that are familiar with Collaboration for Revit, which is the tool that allows Revit to talk to BIM 360, 2018.3 is the only version of Revit that will be able to talk to both BIM 360 team and document management. In 2019, document management will be the only platform that Revit communicates with. So let's talk about that, since it was brought up. So we've got a storage location for all of our documents, right? So how do we manage who can access what? So permissions are controlled by a user, company, and role level. So the general best practice is when I'm setting the permissions for a folder, I want to set the permissions by role first. And the reason why we want to set permissions by role first is that when we add users to our project, we'll assign them a role, and then for the lowest or highest level, depending on how you look at it, everyone will automatically have access to the folders that they need when they're added based on their role. So when I want to add a roles permission here, I'll just start typing in engineer. And you'll see I've got engineer and project engineer. So I'm going to say, well, I want my project engineers to have access to this folder. So we're going to give them view, upload, and edit permissions. We're going to add them there. And now the project engineer, anyone who has the role project engineer assigned to them, will have view, upload, and edit permissions. Now, maybe I want to have one person in this folder who's got admin rights, right? So what I can actually do is then create a specific admin control for one person. So I'm going to say my alpha trainee, we can give him basically full admin rights. And at this point, when I add him in, he now has full control of that general folder and all the folders below it. And this is actually really useful because we can use these various permissions to control how people interact with the environment. So for example, I'm going to create a new incognito mode. We're going to go into Docs. I'm going to sign in as one of my trainees. So give me just 1 second. So I'm logging in as one of the trainees. So back in my environment, which is the admin environment, in this scenario, we're looking at progress reports. So I have a folder for all my progress reports. So down here in my progress reports folder, this is where I want my electrical progress reports, and this is where I want my mechanical progress reports. But I don't want the mechanical contractor having access to the electrical or vice versa. So what I've done in the electrical folder, I have a folder called Progress Report Upload. What I'm going to do with the permissions is tell Alpha Trainee he has upload only access to this folder. And what this will do then is limit how that user sees this folder structure. So when that user is in his environment, he only sees the progress report upload, and the only thing he can do in that environment is submit folders. So this is a great way of managing either pre-bid processes or progress reports like I have here, where we don't necessarily want everyone to have full transparency, but what we can do is then give them a location where they can push files for use. Now let's move on to the next part of the environment, which is our design collaboration environment. So design collaboration is replacing collaboration for Revit. And what the design collaboration environment allows me to do, it allows controlled work sharing. So my design teams can push their models directly from Revit up to BIM 360. And I can see here from this drop-down what's going on with the project team. I can see that the structural and the MEP models were updated on 6/11, and I can also see over here that there were multiple packages submitted with a new package for consumption here on the 7th. So the way this works is as the project team is working live day to day in their Revit file, when they're ready to update their files for the rest of the team, they publish a package, and then that becomes available to the rest of the team. So we're moving away from this Wild West live, true working environment in BIM 360 team to a more controlled environment. And the idea here is now I'm pushing my files directly to BIM 360 team, and if I need to access those files, I can. I can get into Revit and I can edit these files whenever I need to. So this then allows me to also look at one of the other teams. If I want to look at one of the other team's packages, all I have to do is click on their package, and I can see it has one set and one model. I'm going to go ahead and click Explore. And then I can see right here, this is the updated structural model. I can see all the analytical elements, and I can review this structural model. So this gives me instantaneous access to the latest version of the structural model, but it also gives the structural modeler control over when they update their model package to the rest of the design team. Then in field management, I'm sorry, not field management, to go to model coordination. Let me try that again. So in model coordination, this is where the BIM 360 glue part comes into play. We need to be able to bring these models together and figure out where their issues are. So once I set up my model coordination environment, I choose which models go into the environment, and then the clash detection process is automated for me. So I can instantly see where the hot spots in my building are. So if I want to look at a specific area or a specific model and review the clashes, I can do that. This is instantly available, and I can use this in real time next to my Revit file while I'm working, and then I can go in and I can actually start looking at the various clashes in my project. Out in the field, we need to be able to document and manage our field processes. So field management allows us the ability to manage issues, templates, checklists, and daily logs out in the field. So the way that templates work is I create a new template for any workflow I want to document. It could be anything that I just want to make sure that I have a documentation of. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new template, and here are all the templates that I have. So actually, instead of creating one, I'm going to open one up so you can see what it looks like. So here's my doors and frames checklist template, and I can go through and program in all my pass-fail items. And then when I want to use that checklist, I go ahead and I just come over here and I say, all right, I want to use the door and frames checklist. So it creates the checklist for use. Now I'm out in the field and I can then check yes, no, verify rough opening for door jambs as required, and I go through and I pass and fail all the items on my checklist, and this documents the workflow for me. I can then also control who's in charge of it and where the checklist is actually run. That way now I can start tying my project data to my actual documentation processes out in the field. Additionally, I have the ability to generate issues. So if I'm walking around the job site and I see an issue, I can generate an issue on the fly from my iPad, and I can record that issue and I can assign it to a user. I can attach documentation. It gives me the ability to generate and track the issues on my project. Then, if I need to, I can export those out as a CSV or PDF report for my Tuesday morning meeting. The final module in BIM in field management is the daily log. And the way the daily log works is I enter in my weather description, and if I need to, I can pull the weather from a specific location. I said Greenville, South Carolina, and I can see the weather information automatically updates. I have places for my labor information and then general notes. Then I publish that out, and my daily log is finished. So that brings us all the way through to the next step would be handing that information over to the facilities team, which I currently don't have access to, but that would be BIM 360 Ops. But BIM 360, the next generation environment, is allowing me to push data directly to the cloud, and via my project home, I actually have insight into all the activity that's going on my project. So I have full visibility into my entire project environment, and I have the ability to control who can see what and where, and now my project team members can actually work together on a single platform. So I'm not consistently pulling data down or pushing it up or trying to move data from one file structure to another file structure. Everything exists in one location. It's accessible both online and offline in the cloud. All right, well, that wraps up all of the topics that I needed to cover today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this preview into the BIM 360 Next Gen world. If you have any issues or comments, feel free to hit me up. My email address is danwarren@tpm.com, and I hope you guys have a great day.